Hello, this is a demonstration video for the bookkeeping project built by Team 2. I am Alnessa Villondo and I will be narrating this demonstration. So in our release 1, we had a few backlog items, which are, as a user, I can enter group tokens so that I can join a group. 2, as a user, I can add new expenses to the group. 3, as a user, I can edit or delete the details of the expense. So these items have been backlogged and added to the release 2 set of tests. Now for iteration 3, we need to test 4 items, and for iteration 4, 2 items. So for this one, we will be using the user Sarah Doe. So Sarah Doe is sdoe@email.ca. Here we are in Sarah Doe. Okay. So first, let us try the first backlogged item, which is joining a group. So Sarah Doe is with an ID 2. She belongs to group ID 1 and 22, which are the best place and cozy room. So we need to add Sarah Doe to share room, which is group ID 2. Alright. So take note that Sarah Doe is ID 2 does not belong to the group ID 2, which is share room. So at the end of this item, we will see a new item in this query wherein a Sarah Doe will be associated to share room, which has the ID of group 2. Let's click join. So let's just copy the token. Token is password. You have joined the group. Here we are. Alright, so Sarah Doe seems to have been added to share room, and when we click on share room, there we go. Since she's a new user to this group, we don't expect expenses that she has shared for it. So let's see in our database if it has reflected the correct scenario. User ID 2, here we go. User ID 2 has been associated with group ID 2, which is share room. So I will be marking this user story as successful. Next, we have as a user, I can view group members so that I will know who I will be dividing expenses with. So for every group that the user belongs to, there are certain tables that reflect details and that are of importance to them. So this shows the list of users in that particular group, and this shows the users and their expenses in this group. Now this shows all the expenses that Sarah Doe has for each group that she belongs to. And for this particular group, this is Sarah Doe's payments that she made, and so on and so forth. So I will be marking this as successful. Next, as a user, I can click to the shortcut buttons wherein I will be redirected to create a group, join a group, to add an expense. So here we have a few buttons that does such. Leave group has already been tested, wherein a user will be removed. A user's association to a group will be removed. So here, if we click on add expenses, we're redirected to the appropriate page. And if we click on join a group, which we did earlier, we are again redirected to the right page. And lastly, when we click on create, we go to create group. There we go. So I'll be marking this story as successful as well. As a user, as I can see my balance through a table so that I know what I owe without having to navigate through the other pages. So as I mentioned earlier, these are the tables wherein the expenses of all the users will see, and this is the summary table for a particular user so that she or he knows how much he or she owes to the particular group. I'll be marking this as successful as well. Now moving on to iteration 4, these are the stories associated to expenses. So first, we have as a user, I can add a new expense to the group. Let's see. I want to add an expense. Oh, before that. So as you can see, we only have 3 expenses, and in the database, best place, in the database it also shows 3 expenses, although it cannot be seen clearly at this particular query, because this just shows all the expenses, all the items in the expenses table. So we will be adding an expense paid to, say for example, Jake Smith, and the purpose is groceries. Category is home, and I have paid $30. Save. Expense was created, and let's see. And here is our new expense, and let's see in the database if that reflects as well. Here we go, the newest item. Jake Smith, groceries, home, $30. Also reflects here as well. So adding an expense is correct and passed. So next is editing and deleting the details of an expense. Let's use our newly created expense. So first we will edit. So I made a mistake. I didn't pay $30. I didn't put into account tax. So let's say I paid $2 for tax. So it was Jake Smith. Groceries. And it's from $30 to $32. Update. Expense was updated. And yes, it has been. And we'll see in the database. 32. There you go. So since the editing is correct, let's see if we can delete it. Expense has been deleted. And it's no longer there. So let's see in the database if it reflects the same thing. Here we go. It has been deleted. So I will be marking this story as successful. And that is all our stories for this release. So we do not have a lot of stories for this release because most of our high priority stories have been developed in release 1. However, there were some stories that were initially planned but not included as of now, such as editing the details of the group, because as you can see, when we create a group, we only need to add a group name, nothing else. So the developers found it uh, it's found it of less priority because it will just be editing the group name. So this will be carried over to the next release of this application. Another is uploading the receipts because of its complexity um, and the limitations of the development team. We are carrying it over to future releases and also because its priority is very low. Another one is deleting a group. The reason why we do not have a button for deleting a group explicitly is because in the database, each group has too many associations to the different tables. If we delete a group, it will compromise the data in the different tables. So our workaround for that is if all the users leave the group, then essentially nobody has access to the group. Nobody has access to the data of the group. So it will not be deleted in the database, but will be in a way archived. For future releases, we will also need to improve on the user experience. As you may have noticed in our demonstration, there's a need to improve user experience. Our application is not as intelligent, sophisticated, or responsive as we have hoped it to be. However, with a few enhances, it can be. There is a potential for that. Another is the possibility of filtering data. So let's say, for example, I want to filter the data based on who I paid it to, or I want to filter data based on the date or the reason why this amount was there. So in future releases, that can be done. Another one is exporting these expenses into an Excel file. But these stories, such features were not initially planned and need to be further studied. So that is all for our demonstration for today. Thank you very much.